Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, finally feeling like you've built something real. Your career, your independence, your pride, and then the phone rings. On the other end is the person who's supposed to love you most in the world, a voice you've known since birth, calmly telling lies sharp enough to slice through everything you've worked for. Not a rival, not some jealous coworker, your own mother, and she does it with a laugh, as if ruining your future is her favorite hobby. But what happened after that phone call? Let's just say some people should think twice before assuming their children will stay broken forever. If you've ever been betrayed by your own blood, if someone you trusted once decided to poison everything you built, you'll feel this story deep in your bones. My name is Judy, and once upon a time I believed a ridiculous little fantasy that success shared with family was success multiplied. Oh, how young and foolish I was. At 25, I was on fire at Pinnacle Marketing, living on caffeine, ambition, and that electric thrill of landing a big client. Every idea felt like a spark, every campaign a chance to prove I belonged. I wasn't just surviving the grind. I was thriving, and apparently management noticed. After only 18 months, they called me in, smiled across the table, and handed me a promotion letter stamped team lead. I can still see it clearly, the sunlight pouring through the conference room glass. Lucas, my boss, barely hiding his grin as he shook my trembling hand. "Congratulations, Judy. You've earned this." Those 3 words practically made my heart lift out of my chest. I couldn't stop smiling the whole subway ride home. That evening was family dinner night, and I walked into my mother's immaculate dining room glowing with pride, a bottle of champagne clutched like a trophy. "Mom, you won't believe this," I said, setting it down on her perfect table runner. "I got promoted to team lead. Isn't that amazing?" The silence that came next was not the joyful shock I'd hoped for. My mother, Grace, didn't beam or cheer. She simply looked up. Her elegant manicure paused over her plate and gave me a look colder than marble. "Don't act like it's your talent," she said, her tone silky with disdain. "Your boss, Lucas? He's an old college friend of mine. You only have that job because of me." The words crashed into me like ice water. I tried to laugh, tried to keep dinner normal. "Mom, come on. Lucas promoted me because of the results, the campaigns, the clients." She cut me off, voice sharp enough to chip the china. "Judy, let's be realistic. Do you truly think you could compete with Ivy Leaguers purely on merit? Lucas hired you as a favor. The promotion? Just a polite gesture." Something delicate cracked inside me, a hairline fracture that I could almost hear. I went through the rest of that dinner nodding and smiling while she talked about her bridge club and curtain fabrics, pretending none of it bothered me. But inside, a cruel question echoed over and over. What if she's right? That night, I lay awake staring at my ceiling. Sleep nowhere to be found. Grace had always been tough on me, but this was something new, a deliberate attempt to reduce my achievements to dust. Still, I pushed the pain aside. I had work to do, campaigns to launch, a team to lead. If she thought I didn't deserve my success, fine. I'd prove her wrong. For 3 glorious months, things were perfect. My projects were smashing every target. Clients were thrilled, my team was solid, and I finally started to feel grounded again. Then came the email. "Please come to conference room B. Natalie," from HR's voice had that too neutral tone that warned of trouble. I remember walking down that corridor, fluorescent lights buzzing like interrogation lamps, my stomach twisting itself tighter with every step. Inside the room, Lucas sat at the table with Natalie, and both of them looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. "Sit down, Judy," Lucas said quietly. I did, heart pounding so hard it shook my fingers. Natalie opened a thick folder. "We've received serious complaints," she began. "Allegations of misusing company funds and possible dishonesty in your recent campaigns." The world tilted. "What? That's impossible. I would never..." Lucas cut in, avoiding my eyes. "Some clients have raised concerns about your integrity. There are discrepancies in several budgets." My mouth went dry. "Lucas, you know me. You've seen my reports. Where's this coming from?" Natalie folded her hands. "We can't reveal our source, but it's someone who knows you well. Someone close to you who felt obliged to come forward. Someone close to me." The words landed like stones. My brain refused to make the connection, but deep down, somewhere cold, it already knew. "I want to see proof," I managed to say. Financial records, signed complaints, something. The investigation's ongoing, she replied. In the meantime, we're placing you on administrative leave. Administrative leave. Corporate language for career death sentence. I packed my things under an office full of whispering eyes. By the time I reached the elevator, everyone already knew. Back home, I stared at the small cardboard box on my table. Photos, pens, a coffee mug shaped like a pineapple. Everything that used to mean something. Then my phone rang. It was Alice, a junior on my team, speaking in a quick, nervous whisper. Judy, I probably shouldn't tell you this, she said, but I overheard something in HR. Natalie was on the phone with a woman. She said it was your mom. She told HR she was ashamed to admit it, but as your mother, she felt she had to warn them. You couldn't be trusted with money. She called you a thief. The phone slipped right out of my hand. My own mother, the woman who'd taught me to take my first steps, who'd lectured me about honesty and perseverance. The person who should have been my loudest cheerleader had turned herself into my public executioner. The investigation dragged on for 2 excruciating weeks, 14 days of silence, panic, and spiraling self-doubt. I watched my savings shrink while my inbox filled with polite rejection letters from other firms. The marketing world is small, and gossip travels faster than light. I felt trapped in quicksand, sinking a little deeper every morning. Then finally Lucas called. His voice was stiff, pre-rehearsed. Judy, I'm so sorry. We have to terminate your employment with Pinnacle Marketing. We can't ignore the allegations. You'll receive your last paycheck by mail. He hung up before I could say a word. I stared at the phone until the screen went dark. 26 years old, unemployed, my career in ruins, all because my own mother couldn't stand to see me succeed. That night, I drove to Grace's house. My hands were steady on the steering wheel, not from calm, but from a cold fury that had crystallized into something harder than diamond. She opened the door with that same smug smile she'd worn at dinner 3 months ago. Juby, what a surprise. You look terrible, sweetheart. I walked past her into the living room where I'd shared so many family dinners. So many moments I'd thought were filled with love. Did you do it? I asked quietly. Do what? But I could see it in her eyes. The guilt, the defiance, and underneath it all, satisfaction. Did you call my office? Did you tell them I was a thief? For a moment, I thought she might deny it. Part of me hoped she would, because that would mean this was all some horrible misunderstanding, some cosmic mistake that could be fixed. Instead, Grace straightened her shoulders and looked me right in the eye. That job was never yours, Judy. I gave it to you as a favor to an old friend. I can take it away just as easily. Her voice was matter-of-fact, like she was discussing the weather. Maybe this will teach you not to forget who made you. The last piece of my old life cracked and fell away. You're my mother, I whispered. And you are my daughter, which means everything you have. Everything you are comes from. I was reminding you of your place. I stared at this woman who looked like the person who'd raised me, but was clearly a stranger. Someone so toxic, so threatened by her own child's success that she'd burn it all down rather than watch me fly. Okay, I said finally. Grace blinked, clearly expecting tears or pleading or rage. Okay. Now I know exactly who you are. I turned toward the door, and now you'll find out exactly who I am. I left their house that night and never looked back. The next 3 years were the hardest and most transformative of my life. I spent the first month crying, grieving not just my career, but the mother I thought I had. Then I got angry, and then I got to work. I started freelancing from my cramped studio apartment, taking any project I could get. A logo designed for a corner bakery, social media management for a small gym, copy for a local restaurant's website, $20 jobs, $50 jobs, anything to pay rent and buy ramen. I worked 18-hour days. While other people my age were out at bars and parties, I hunched over my laptop in my kitchenette, learning everything I could about digital marketing, SEO, brand development, client acquisition. I read every industry blog, took every free online course, absorbed knowledge like a sponge. Word started to spread. The bakery owner recommended me to her friend who owned a boutique. The gym owner's wife needed help with her catering business. Small jobs became bigger jobs. Bigger jobs became retainer clients. I reinvested every single dollar back into the business. Better equipment, professional software, an actual office space, tiny but mine. My first employee, Marilyn, a brilliant graphic designer who'd been laid off from her agency job. By year 2, I had 5 employees and was turning down Clients. By year 3, Nova Creative Marketing had 15 people and a client list that would make Pinnacle jealous. I built it all myself. No favors from family, friends, no shortcuts, no lies, just talent, determination, and the kind of focused rage that can power a small city. Every late night, every rejected proposal, every moment of doubt, I channeled it all into making myself untouchable. Because Grace had taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. If you want something that can't be taken away, you have to build it so strong that not even the people who hate you most can tear it down. 3.5 years after Grace destroyed my career, I was sitting in my corner office. Floor-to-ceiling windows, awards lining the walls, a view of the city I was conquering when my assistant knocked on the door. "Judy, there's a meeting request that just came in. It's from Pinnacle Marketing. They want to discuss a potential partnership." I looked up from my laptop. Pinnacle Marketing, my old company, the one that had fired me based on my mother's lies. "Who's the contact?" I asked. "Lucas Morrison. He's listed as senior partner." Lucas, my former boss, the man who'd trusted my mother over me. I leaned back in my chair, a slow smile spreading across my face. "Schedule the meeting and do me a favor. Send an invitation to one more person." "Of course, who should I add?" "Grace Morrison. She's Lucas's old college friend. Tell her it's a major business opportunity she won't want to miss." The day of the meeting, I arrived dearly and watched from my office window as Grace walked into my building. She looked exactly the same, perfectly coiffed designer handbag, that air of superiority she wore like expensive perfume. She probably thought I'd called her to ask for help again, to admit defeat and beg her to make another phone call on my behalf. Lucas arrived 5 minutes later, looking older and more tired than I remembered. Pinnacle had been struggling. I knew they'd lost several major clients over the past year, while Nova Creative was booking out months in advance. I let them sit in the conference room for exactly 10 minutes before I walked in. The look on Grace's face was worth every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, every tear I'd shed in that tiny apartment. She went sheet white, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Lucas stood up uncertainly. "Judy, I have to say, when I heard you were the CEO of Nova Creative, I could hardly believe it. Your reputation in the industry is impressive." "Thank you, Lucas." I sat down at the head of the conference table, my conference table in my building where I made the decisions. "I understand Pinnacle is looking for a marketing partner." "Yes, we've been having some challenges lately. Client retention, market share. Your company's success has been remarkable, and we were hoping that I could save your failing business." I smiled pleasantly. "Tell me, Lucas, what changed your mind about my character? Last time we spoke, you were concerned about my integrity." The room went dead silent. Lucas stared at his hands. Grace looked like she wanted to disappear through the floor. "Judy, I want you to know that I've always regretted how things ended between us. If I could go back, you'd trust the lies of a woman who was so threatened by her own daughter's success that she'd rather destroy it than watch me thrive." I turned to look directly at Grace. "Do you remember what you told him, Mom? That I was a thief? That even you couldn't trust me?" Grace's voice was barely a whisper. "Judy, Lucas is here because I built something so successful that his company needs money to survive. The job you told him it didn't deserve. It was just my beginning." I slid the partnership contract across the table. "This time you can't take it away." Lucas signed the contract with shaking hands. Grace sat frozen, finally understanding that the daughter she'd tried to break had become the woman who could break her. Grace never apologized. She never acknowledged what she did, never showed a moment of remorse. But she didn't need to, because every day my success speaks louder than her lies ever could. Pinnacle Marketing is now a subsidiary of Nova Creative. Lucas reports to me. Grace gets to watch her old college friend take orders from the daughter she tried to destroy. I kept every dollar I earned, every client I won, every award I received. I built an empire from the ashes of the career she burned down, and now she has to live with the knowledge that her cruelty only made me stronger. That's the thing about trying to break someone who refuses to stay broken. You don't get to control the shape they take when they rebuild themselves. Sometimes revenge isn't about hurting the people who hurt you. Sometimes it's about succeeding so spectacularly that they have to choke on the sight of what they tried to prevent. Grace taught me that family can be your greatest enemy. But she also taught me that success is the ultimate revenge, and I wear mine like armor. She can never penetrate again. If this story proves anything, it's that the best revenge is massive success. Drop a comment telling me about a time someone underestimated you. Hit subscribe for more stories of people who rose above toxic family. And remember, sometimes the people who try to tear you down are just showing you exactly how high you're meant to climb.